Oh my goodness, they messed it up. Oh man. One movie I thought might be safe in 2024 was Kung Fu Panda 4. I had a confidence. I was like, maybe, just maybe. But no, they can't. They won't. I'm probably over-exaggerating on a majority of that. Kung Fu Panda 4 isn't even really a horrible movie. I wouldn't say it's great or even good, but hey, it's at least entertaining. But it is definitely the worst entry in the Kung Fu Panda franchise, without a doubt, and I think that will probably be universally agreed upon within a year or so. I had low expectations going into this film, especially after the first trailer dropped, the only trailer dropped, and the lack of marketing this film had. It's like, why would you not market something that has been so successful, that is so beloved? Are you not confident in it? And so I had low expectations going into it, but man, they should have been lower. There was one question that I had while I was watching the film, and even going out of the theater, I was still asking myself this question. Why does this movie need to be made? Why does this story need to be told? Why? Why was this movie made? Not you. I know that. I mean, story-wise, why was this movie made? And I don't think, besides the little cheddar, the little cash, I don't think you can justify this movie. And I think that's the biggest problem. It's just really generic, really bland, not very innovative either. And it kind of falls flat. And I don't think it can truly justify its existence, story-wise and within the world. But I just want to say, before we dive into this thing, if you care about spoilers, go ahead, click away. This is your spoiler warning. We're going over a lot of things that happen in this movie. But if you're someone that's just like, I don't care about spoilers, go tell me what happens within this whole movie. I don't care. Or if you're someone who's seen the movie already, let's go ahead, jump into this thing. The fourth film picks up a couple years after the third film. I'm not sure how much time has passed, but Poe's still out there kicking butt, taking names, as he says in the movie, just enjoying being a dragon warrior, opening restaurants, taking pictures with people or portraits with people, just having a great time being the dragon warrior. Then one day Shifu's just like, hey man, you can't be the dragon warrior anymore. You got to become the spiritual leader of the Valley of Peace, whatever that means. The movie kind of makes it seem like he just gives advice to people and just sits in the temple all day, like on top of the hill. Why can't he do that and be the dragon warrior? That's not really explained. And then also, I believe it was implied that Poe is the only one that can exclusively hold the title of the dragon warrior. That's kind of the whole point of the first movie, is that they were waiting for this dragon warrior. They've been waiting for this whole time, and it wasn't Tai Lung, it wasn't any of the Furious Five, it was Poe. But now it just seems like a title that's passed down, which makes me question why the events of the first movie happened the way they were. So I'm confused. Anyway, Poe's time as the Dragon Warrior is apparently over, and Poe responds to this news the way I did when it was first announced. Why? Why is his time done? Why does he need to ascend to this new role? It doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't think he understands it either, and he's just like, I just want to kick butt, take names, eat noodles, eat dumplings. Like, I just want to do what I'm doing. And Shifu's like, no, it's time for you to pick a successor. So anyway, Poe can't find someone that he feels can succeed him, mainly because he wants to be the Dragon Warrior. But then one day, a little fox named Zhen comes in and tries to steal a couple artifacts. Poe stops her, throws her in prison, but at the same time, he gets news that Tai Lung is back and is set for revenge against the Valley and Poe. So Poe goes to investigate, and then he's like, Zhen, you seem to know what's going on here? And Zhen goes, I do, actually. That's not Tai Lung. It's a shape-shifting sorceress named the Chameleon. And Poe's like, oh. Well, it sounds like I need to stop the Chameleon. And Zhen's like, yeah, you should, and I'll lead you to her. So Poe and Zhen then head to, I believe it's called Juniper City, to go stop the Chameleon and whatever her nefarious plan is. During all of that, we also got a subplot of Li and Ping, Poe's Panda Dad and Poe's Goose Dad, as they're worried for Poe that he's in over his head this time, and so they track down Poe in hopes of helping him and saving him for whatever reason. So that's the story that we find in Kung Fu Panda 4. I want to start with the good things in this movie, because there were things that I actually enjoyed. I didn't hate this whole movie. I was entertained during it, and I did enjoy certain parts. And I think the highlight, the standout, the one man, or should I say panda, that carries this entire movie is Po. Jack Black, again, does an incredible job as Po. He's just consistently good in that role. He's good here. Po is the best part of this movie. And I think the humor, for the most part, in Kung Fu Panda 4 holds up with humor from the previous 3 films. There were a couple jokes that I rolled my eyes at, or I didn't find the most amusing, but for the most part, I was laughing a decent amount throughout this film. I did like Lee and Ping in this movie. I thought every scene that they were in were some of the better scenes within the film. Especially the bar sequence, I thought was just awesome. Like, that was a really cool moment. But I will say this, although I enjoyed their scenes and I enjoyed the characters, their subplot doesn't really matter. I mean, you could remove that entire subplot and I don't think you change the story at all. I have mixed feelings about that subplot. Like, I enjoyed it, but at the same time, it didn't really do anything. And then I was also a really big fan of the lesson, the moral of the story, you know, talking about change. You know, sometimes change is inevitable and change isn't always bad, and change is something that sometimes we should embrace. And like, what we think isn't always what's best for us. Often what I think is best for me isn't what I need. And then I look back upon those times and I look back upon those changes and I see how God orchestrated it, what he did, what his plans were. And then I go, well, that was way better than anything I could have thought of. And so I think there's a good lesson there. Even though I enjoyed those things, I mean, there's a lot going on here in this film that just doesn't work out. And I think when I think of the Kung Fu Panda franchise, one of the first things that comes to mind, besides the song Everybody Was Kung Fu Fighting, is the villains. The villains of the Kung Fu Panda franchise are incredible. These are some top tier villains like Shen and Tai Lung. Oh my god, they're such good villains. Even Kai, although he was definitely the weakest of the 3 up until this point, he still posed real challenges for Po and pushed him to the limit. But in this 4th film, the villain, the chameleon, just is not great. I think the concept for the chameleon is really good, actually. You know, shape-shifting, sorcery, that's something we haven't seen in Kung Fu Panda. The sorcery, magic, that's a cool new realm to explore, and a villain that can look like anyone. We're getting into some Secret Invasion, not the show, like storylines that we could be going with, but they don't really use any of her sorcery or shape-shifting outside the first 10 minutes of the film and into the final fight. Like, that's it. That's the only time we see the shape-shifting. And whatever, fine, they didn't truly maximize on her powers or her skills. That's fine, whatever. But how villainous is she, you know? Do we really feel like she's a threat, that she's someone who's bad, that someone who needs to be stopped? You know, Tai Lung broke out of prison and decimated a bunch of guards. Shen wiped out an entire species of animal, or at least he thought so. Kai was stealing chi from all of Po's friends and Kung Fu Panda masters. So what does the chameleon do? That's so bad, that's so sinister, that we must take her down. Well, dear viewer, she pushes a guy down a flight of stairs. That is her villainous deed. That's why we need to stop her. That's why she must be taken down. She can't be pushing anyone else off staircases. That would be devastating. Granted, it was a high staircase. That just adds to the villainy of this act. In all seriousness, though, like, she's never posed as a threat. We never get really any reason to be scared for Po. And it also makes the subplot with Lee and Ping carry less emotional weight, because we as the viewer never feel like he's in danger. Like, Po is taken down Tai Lung, Shen, and Kai. All 3 villains that are way more powerful than the chameleon. Why should we fear for Po when all she's done is push a dude down a flight of stairs? Are we afraid that Po is going to be pushed down a flight of stairs and have to walk back up? I know he would be afraid of that. Alongside the fact that she doesn't pose as much of a threat as the other 3 villains, her motivation is also extremely weak. Pretty much, this is her whole motivation for what she does throughout the film. She was rejected by kung fu schools because she was too small, so she couldn't learn kung fu. And so now she wants to steal the Kung Fu from all the masters and villains that Poe has fought, and then take over the world. That's her motivation. How did we get from I want to be a Kung Fu master to take over the world? I don't get the correlation there. Plus, it doesn't make sense considering the fact that Mantis, one of the Furious Five, is smaller than the Chameleon, and yet he's a Kung Fu master. So it's just like, why was she rejected for being too small? It's like, that doesn't make sense in the context of the other 3 movies. And then there's just the lazy writing, and how do we make her more powerful, an actual enemy that Poe has to struggle to fight? Well, let's just give her all the powers of the people that he's fought in the past. It's just like, that's so lazy. And considering the fact that we've already kind of done this in the last movie with Kai stealing the chi of all these former masters. It's like, we've seen this already. And to be honest, it was done better in the last film. So why are we doing it here? The Chameleon just falls flat. She's just not that great of a villain. Bringing back the old villains was a huge letdown. They don't really do anything in this film. Tai Lung only has a couple lines and is probably on screen for max 5 minutes. They really do Kai and Shen dirty. They don't even speak at all. They're just there. And bringing them back, it just felt off. And because they don't do anything, because the Chameleon takes them down so easily, they don't even feel like the same characters we saw in the previous 3 films. Yeah, I don't know. I love Tai Lung. I love Shen. I'm always down to see more of them, but just throwing them into this movie it just didn't do it for me. Also, something I didn't enjoy with the old villains being brought back is how easily they forgive Poe. Like, he saves them once and they're like, hey, you're actually not as bad as I thought. Even though you banished me to the spirit realm, or you absolutely decimated my forces, you're chill now because you saved me one time. They forgive him and are cool with him so easily, even though all his villains are surrounding him and could totally take him on. They're just like, nah, man, you're cool now. I see it. What? Zen was alright. Shen, however you say it, I forgot. The fox that Poe befriends is alright. She's not great, she's not good, she's not bad, she's just alright. She's a very generic character, and pretty much the second she appears in the movie what her arc's gonna be, what she's gonna do. I saw her in the Jade Palace stealing stuff, and I knew already she was gonna betray Poe. And then the second you hear she's an orphan, you're like, oh my goodness, the Chameleon adopted her, and she's gonna betray Poe to the Chameleon. And then she's going to have a redemption arc and become the Dragon Warrior. You see it so clearly in the beginning. And so it makes her arc feel very bland. It's very predictable. And because she's such a central character to the plot, it makes the plot feel generic. It makes the plot feel predictable. But she herself isn't a horrible character. I just don't think they really developed her very well or made her very interesting. Also, she doesn't really have a strong relationship with Poe. Nothing extraordinary, nothing that we feel like they really connected or bonded over anything. And so it makes him passing the title of Dragon Warrior to her feel kind of unearned. Like if it was given to Tigress or Crane or Mantis or Viper or Monkey, that would have held more weight than it did just giving it to her. And that's the other thing. The Furious Five being pretty much non-existent from this film is such a shame. I will probably always say this as long as it is true. The less Furious Five, the worse off the Kung Fu Panda movies are. Look, I know probably the main reason you didn't put the Furious Five in is because you didn't want to pay the voice actors to come back and play the characters. But if you're not willing to bring central characters back to a movie franchise, then don't make another movie in that franchise. Because what it leads to, like it did in this movie, and there were other factors to this, not just the lack of the Furious Five, this movie feels cheap. It doesn't feel as loved and as cared for as the past 3 films. Besides the characters and the story, one of the biggest issues with this film is the pacing. Oh my goodness, the pacing for this film is all over the place. It's really bad. There's no way to sugarcoat it. It's really bad. The film goes so fast. It goes 250 miles per hour through everything. I know kids can't sit through movies anymore. They have to be constantly stimulated, but there's better ways to grab someone's attention than to just go, 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 go. Look, Kung Fu Panda 4 was disappointing. It could not live up to the standards set by the previous 3 films in the franchise, and it fails to expand the world of Kung Fu Panda and, to be honest, justify why this story needed to be told. And because of that, it kind of feels just like a cash grab. Man, I wish they would have spent 1, maybe 2 more years on this. Just really making it a story worth telling, worth sharing. But yeah, that's what I thought about Kung Fu Panda 4. Let me know down in the comment section below what you guys thought about this movie. And thank you guys so much for watching. If you've made it this far, comment down below skadoosh to let me know. As always, I really appreciate you guys stopping by, watching the vid. I love you guys, and I hope you have an incredible day, an absolutely awesome day. And until next time, peace out, bro skillets.